Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 6th day of January, often known in the NFL world as Black Monday. Going to talk about some coaching firings there. And listen, folks, I do not think that that's going to be over with. I know Lou Anarumo was fired as a coordinator. Gerard Mayo, head coach there with New England, fired Doug Peterson. Really expected Doug Peterson, but I do think that there will be some other firings as we get along through the week in the next few weeks or so. Still nothing about McCarthy there, Mike McCarthy there in Dallas and whatnot. So also Detroit gets the 1 seed. Talk about that game as well. Go over the NFL playoffs. We'll talk about the winners, not just the losers and all the changeover and whatnot. Tennessee Titans here at Nashville have the number 1 overall pick. Did not expect that. Thought maybe they could get the 2 pick. But, maybe the fortunes have turned for them. We'll get on that and more. Stand by. Let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
All righty then. Thank you there, folks, with that great commercial there, an intro with National Streaming Sports there. Hope everybody's okay. I know we got a big winter storm around the country here in Nashville. Kind of got lucky here with this particular round. Okay, last night, biggest game, Minnesota-Detroit. What I like most about this particular Lions team is after multiple interceptions by Jared Goff, one horrible screen pass that got picked up. It's not the first thing. It didn't change their game plan. And number two, it simply did not rattle Jared Goff's confidence. A lot of times you'll see this in these big games like this, particularly a division game like last night, and you'll see an interception like that where it was a screen pass picked off. You'll see a team kind of go down and run the ball more between the tackles They were tight. You'll see the game plan tighten up before your eyes, particularly with defensive-minded head coaches. Not this team. They just keep their foot on the gas, and they do not blink. They do not blink. They do not get intimidated by the moment. They stick with the plan and just push right through. Like I said, it didn't rattle Goff's confidence. They continue to do what Green Bay did not do. They passed to set up the run last night. 4 touchdowns, 3 on the ground, hat trick for Jahmyr Gibbs. Just ran great. But a lot of that was from the early first half into the early second half, passing to set up the run here. Not even without even bit of hesitation. I like the fact that they had Minnesota so much out of their game plan where Minnesota, it was 4th and 2, and they're so much used to Detroit going for it on 4th down. They got Minnesota to jump. Great hard count there by Jared Goff, getting the Vikings to jump off sides and getting the first down without even having to take a snap and take a chance on losing the 4th down and possession. And defensively, I've been a critic of Aaron Glenn there at times. But this may have been his best coaching job. Minnesota, on the flip side, 0-3 on 4th down, 4th and 2 on the goal line. They continue to find players to step up. This Alex Anzalone, I'm going to play a bite here in just a little bit. Dan Campbell praising this guy, giving him one of the game balls. Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar. This guy's making plays all over the place. Kept T.J. Hockenson in check. Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said earlier, 4 total touchdowns, patient behind that excellent offensive line. Not particularly problems with young running backs. They want to get in front and just outrun their coverage. And this guy, patient enough to run behind his blockers, find the opening in the zone, and just run right past it. Real impressed last night with that. The flip side, not just the 4th quarter, just take if it's not late in the 4th quarter, why don't you just take the field goal? They were playing Minnesota going forward like that. It's almost like they were afraid they just could not stop Detroit's offense, even though they've gotten the number 2. They're the number 2 run defense in the NFL, Minnesota. Brian Flores has been interview request for Flores for head coaching jobs. I think the Bears one of them for that matter. But that's what happens when you're that efficient offensively. You get into the head of your opponent and get them to do unorthodox, reckless type of decision making. Listen to Dan Campbell after the game. Always good for a great quote. So they go ahead, win the game, get the division, get the number 1 seed. What a story this Detroit Lions team has been. Listen up.
You guys look like you remember who the you are. That's a hell of a win, guys. All I can think about is, man, we've been forged in this stuff now. This has been 3 years in the making. Some of it 4. Like, that just doesn't happen. You got to work through it, grind through it, and go through the downs to get to the ups of where we're at. Division winners, back-to-back seasons, and the number 1 seed. It was a total team effort. I got 3 game balls. On offense, 23 carries, 139 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 catches for 31 yards, 1 touchdown. Broke the franchise record for touchdowns in the season. John Gibbs.
Appreciate y'all, boys. Couldn't do without y'all. Love y'all. Let's keep it going.
On defense, 5 total tackles, 1 pass defended. Only gave 18, had 3 catches. Mr. Amik Robinson.
I mean it from the bottom of my heart, man. I appreciate y'all, man, because y'all gave me a chance to showcase what I could do when they tried to bury me, dog. But they can't bury what come from the dirt. Hey, let's get that big one, man. Let's keep on working, man. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
7 total tackles. 1's quarterback hit, 1 pass defense. Welcome back, Alex Anzalone.
Every time you get this is a team award. But defense, I'm proud of you today, man. Appreciate you. Love you.
That's a lot of hard work, and we are the #1 seed with a bye, gentlemen. Great job.
This is just step one. We're on to bigger and better now. Proud of you guys. Love you all. 1 on 3, 1 on 3.
You know, it's real. It's authentic. I've been a critic of Dan Campbell's too, sometimes with his reckless style, play calling. But if you coach that way and you have players that buy in the way this team buys in, you will never, ever see this team play scared. You will never see this team. And I'm out of Nashville. You've seen Jeff Fisher before, some of you voter type fans. You've seen a lot of these defensive-minded coaches sometimes play like that, play scared. And they just do not play scared. He doesn't coach scared. And they're not afraid to make a mistake. They made a lot of mistakes, you know. And Carlos says, Goff going to get jacked up. Yeah, he made some mistakes in this game, and then he made some big throws afterwards. You know, they got the win. I didn't think they would beat Minnesota like that. I just didn't see that happening. But at some point, you get in your opponent's head. They started making mistakes. One of the worst games by, just totally Sam Darnold had been lights out before last night's game. And again, Aaron Glenn, that defense saved. Goal line stance, 2 of them, 0 for 3 for 4th down. That's all on Glenn. Very impressed the fact that they've had some injuries on defense. I know they had another cornerback get hurt last night. Arnold, foot injury, not sure about that extent there. But they've got the bye week. This team, I feel like, can play with the Eagles as good as the Eagles have been. Now, that being said, with the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol, you know. So we'll see how this Carlos says Campbell wasn't forced to make difficult decisions. Yeah, those 4th down calls are on Campbell for them going forward on 4th down. He is the guy that he either takes his foot off the gas or puts it on the gas. In other words, he can guide Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn to do a certain defense or offense. He's the head coach. He can do whatever he wants. He could say, hey, listen, man, let's take care of the clock here. Let's not get too crazy with those screen passes. Jared looks a little bit flustered. Let's just line up and run up the middle. We got a good offense. That's what like a Fisher would do. You know, that's kind of like what a Tomlin would do. Although I think that they got a good matchup against Baltimore. That would favor Pittsburgh coming up later on. But I couldn't say how much proud I am considering the fact they've had a lot of injuries on this team. I've mentioned this before in the past. The Green Bay Packers, I want to say the 2010 Packers that won the Super Bowl, had a flood of injuries similar to this. Linebackers, running backs. Montgomery's out, but he's supposed to possibly be back after this bye week. And that Green Bay team, led by Aaron Rodgers, and this defense, Charles Woodson, Jordy Nelson, they won the Super Bowl and had a flood of injuries. Remember, the next year they went 15-1. So I do kind of see some of the similarities. That team of destiny. I didn't think Pittsburgh would beat them in the Super Bowl. I did not think that even at Atlanta, I didn't think Atlanta would beat them in the NFC Championship game. And of course, they didn't. You know, the rest is history. There's some similarities to this from that team to this team. There's some similarities to the 92-93 Dallas Cowboys that Jim Jeffcoat, who's been a guest on the program in the past, with the running game, the enthusiasm of the head coach, the building of the offensive line, very similar to that Cowboys team, in my opinion. Carlos says defense ranked top 5 in almost every category. Yes, we all know defense wins championships. Well, defense and quarterback play now. That's not just the case and everything. The number 1 overall defenses have not won championships. I'll have to disagree with that. A level defense wins championships, but it's not just that cliche anymore. So, okay. So looking ahead here, Tampa almost coughed up that game. And the Saints were really playing them like it was the Super Bowl, but they came about, won anyways. So the Bucs will be in the playoffs here. And like I said, the Commanders, I thought the Commanders would win. Now the Commanders end up benching their quarterback. They wasn't that headstrong on playing a Ram team or a Tampa Bay team, but they pulled it off anyways with Marcus Mariota. Go ahead and beat the Dallas Cowboys here. Denver takes care of business and wins. Denver, folks, Denver, we're talking $60-70 million in dead cap from the Russell Wilson contract. That's what, I talk to people around town. Oh, it's doom and gloom for the Titans and blah, blah, blah this and blah, blah, blah that. And if you get the coach quarterback combo right, look at Denver. They're in the playoffs. Their over and under was 5 wins, folks. It was 5 wins. Of course, the Jets got the win over Miami. Miami has not fired McDonald. Although, listen, as far as these coaching firings are concerned, you can don't just say it's over now because Black Monday is past practically. Okay, Jeff Fisher was fired weeks after the season, the Monday after the season ended. Sometimes it's days. Mike Vrabel survived last year at this time, and a few days later he gets fired. So you got to keep that in mind here, okay? As far as Green Bay is concerned, a little bit banged up there. They did lose that game. Looks like who's it? Christian Watson's tore an ACL. They're going to play at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is just a 4-point favorite. I thought that would be more like a 7-point spread, but I'm trying. Folks, that Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol. There is a chance, even with Watson being out, that Hurts could go in there rusty and or not even play at all, and they get beat. I don't think that'll happen. Because of this, because Saquon Barkley did not play last week, I think he'll be shot out of a cannon playing against Green Bay. But that is a storyline to kind of keep an eye on. Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol. Even if he does come back, that's quite a few weeks there that he has not played there. Got to keep an eye on that one. And, of course, Denver's season will probably come to an end when they go up and play Buffalo coming up on Sunday. I'm not making predictions right now. I have to break down the injury report. Of course, Carlos, I will break these games down with you Friday, hopefully just at normal time. As far as the college game, we'll just have to hold our breath on that. We won't miss much of it. And, of course, the Commanders and Buccaneers, that will be the most exciting game, in my opinion. Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. That one will be a good one, worth watching here. And of course, going back to Saturday, I had my screenshots backwards here. Chargers Texans. Now, I'll tell you that game. Chargers 11-6. What a difference! The Chargers had the number. What is it? 5 pick. They had the number 5 pick last year with Brandon Staley. Now they're in the playoffs with 11 wins. They're going to play at the Texans, and they're actually 3-point favorites, folks, against the 10-7 Texans. Keep that in mind here. And, of course, Prime Video, man, I know a lot of the purists got to hate this. Steelers-Ravens Part 3. Steelers will play at the Ravens. Baltimore 10-point favorites And right now, if healthy as they look, I would lean Steelers there. That's not a good matchup for the Ravens. That is not a good matchup for the Ravens. So really good wild card weekend. And, of course, we know that Kansas City, 15-2, have the bye week. And, of course, this Detroit Lions team, well-earned bye week. Cannot wait. Can't wait. Remember Bart Scott there, Carlos. Can't wait. Okay. Listen, let me talk about this Jerod Mayo firing here. You know, I've talked about this with Keith Engel. I'm going to try to get him on next week. By the way, hope to have Tuesday Rich Ferris. I believe he's going to be on tomorrow. He's got to confirm it. Got a pretty busy schedule with 104.5 The Zone of the Titans. There works behind the scenes there. He's got his ears to the ground. Want to get his report. The Titans have the number one pick. I'll get to that story in a minute. But I want to say that he will likely be on tomorrow at around 7:30. So keep that in mind. And Wednesday, listen, we're a month away, 6 weeks, a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting for the Major League Baseball season. Jenny Paul from the, and I've talked about this ad nauseum. By the way, Rich just sent me a text. He says, I'm good for tomorrow. The guy just heard me talking about him. So Rich will be on tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Tennessee Titans who have the number one pick, folks. And, of course, the Yankee Princess will be on tomorrow as well. Or not tomorrow, Wednesday. Gabe Paul, that's a Hall of Fame baseball player's daughter. She has the book out. It's been out for a while. Met her in an Uber ride. Gave her, and I think it was her daughter, but I'm not sure. Uber ride a few weeks before Christmas there. She agreed to come on Wednesday, 7:30. Going to ask her about her book. She's got some really fallacious details here. I will tease that at that. So make sure and tune in Wednesday, 30 minutes past the hour. She's got stories about Billy Martin. Her dad owned part of the Yankees, Gabe Paul. So really good interview. She will be on Thursday or Wednesday at 7. Jenny. She will be on at 7:30, 8:30 Eastern on the program. So, okay. Wanted to get that out of the way. Usually get out of order. Plus, there's a big-time story here, a scandal story I'll probably get to Thursday, Carlos, about Fox Sports, Joey Taylor, big lawsuit. I think it was a makeup artist. I'll get to that Thursday. There's too many bigger stories in the NFL going on right now. Okay, so now let's go back to Jerod Mayo. As you all know, Jerod Mayo, listen, at first, hey, man, this guy, very good player, University of Tennessee linebacker, really highly thought of by college and NFL coaches here, going back to Tennessee days as a college player. Smart player, very good player. Moved up quickly in once he retired as a player and became a coach here. As a linebacker coach, 4 years with the team. They did not want to lose him to another organization. So Barbara Kraft said, hey, we'll make this guy the head coach. You'll be the coach in waiting. And that's how much Bill Belichick liked working with Jerod Mayo, became linebacker coach there without any coaching experience, just right off the bat there. Made that, gave him the raise, gave him the promise. And, of course, that was delivered. I was a big fan of the guy at the time, but then he opened his mouth at that press conference. And those of you can go back and watch Sports Scope on YouTube around January the 17th, I want to say, around 18th or whatever, when they did that press conference and put Jerod Mayo in as the head coach, 38 years old, youngest coach ever to coach, hire for the organization. Is his first black coach there. and he had to go on. I don't know what he was thinking when he said what he said last year. Were you trying to audition for ESPN with a lot of the race baiters they have there now? Now that's calmed down a bit. Stephen A's kind of backed away from that, but you still got guys like Ron Clark and whatnot leaning into that, or somebody from MSNBC or who's that lady? There's a lady on The View that's just everything that comes out of her mouth is something racist. Sunny Hostin. Yeah, that's her name. I don't know if he's trying to audition to be with one of them people, but here's a good word of advice. Do not call your employer's colleagues racist on the first day of the job. You don't do that. That's stupid. First of all, it's not true. The data brings that out. I mean, you've had the Rooney Rule. They went beyond the Rooney Rule in the NFL. But listen to what he said last year, and I'm sure that once Robert Kraft heard that, and I said then, I would have fired his rear end right there. That the next day I'd have fired him for that. But Kraft wanted to be diplomatic, give the guy a shot, see what happens. Here's Jerod Mayer 1 year ago, just about a couple of weeks from now. Listen.
I do see color because I believe if you don't see color, you can't see racism. And whatever happens, black, white, disabled person, I've always, even someone with disabilities, I always, for the most part, people are like, when they're young, they kind of make the spot hot. Younger people know what that means. But what I would say is, no, I want you to be able to go up to those people and really understand those people. So it goes back to whatever it is, black, white, yellow, it really doesn't matter, but it does matter so we can try to fix a problem that we all know we have.
You just said, instead of saying, listen, man, I'm here to coach this team to win. We don't go there. We're talking about winning football games here. The media can play all them games. Like a Todd Bowles, he said, listen, you guys judge people like that. I judge people by their character. That's Todd Bowles. That's why I really like Todd Bowles. He didn't play into that air quote woke. And I do think the country, the world is really getting away from that whole narrative. Everything is racist narrative. And the people are pushing all that crap. But I think that put him behind with me. That put him now I was going to be fair with him. First year quarterback, had a pretty crappy roster. Bill Belichick picking all the players, not having a proper structure system in line where you got general manager picking players, coaching players. I would have been okay if they had kept the guy. Personally, I wasn't going to call for his fire. They have $130 million in cap room, and they now have the 4 picks. So, and I do think, and most around, you ask coaches and scouts around the league, Drake May's the guy. But you look at games like, for example, you look at the game where Arizona, they come off that late bye week. They get 3 points, 3 quarters into this game. That totally unprepared, no rapport with the players whatsoever. Keith Engel kind of brought that up as well. And his side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, one of the worst in giveaway, takeaway. Robert Kraft said this is a hard decision for me to make. But he says, I didn't see any gradual improvement from any aspect of the team, particularly offensively. So a lot of times it's attitude of the coach. It's attitude. You could see whether there's rapport with the players and the coach or not. And he just didn't see that. Colin Cowherd said about a week ago that there was rumors that maybe Mike Vrabel would be in line for this job, that a Mike Vrabel and a Josh McDaniels to work with Drake May as the offensive coordinator would be in line for this job. So kind of the opposite of a Jerod Mayo, kind of a guy that uplifts the players, kind of like a Dan Campbell type of guy, rather than a Matt Patricia type, which is also ironically another former assistant. Remember, Vrabel was an assistant with Belichick. He's just a player there. He was a linebacker for Belichick back when he wasn't picking the players. Okay. So I understand. And I do think, could this be the most impressive job opening? Perhaps $132 million in cap room, the 4th overall pick. That's pretty good. You got your franchise quarterback, Robert Kraft, who's normally pretty good owner. He's a good owner to work for. He's not overbearing. He's not Jerry Jones. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because if you compare it to the politics and of the Bears job with Kevin Warren, which I'd send him packing, by the way, so he apparently could not get along with Jim Harbaugh. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to hire Marcus Freeman because there's a connection there with him. Going back to his college days, Freeman has 0 NFL experience and just getting his feet wet as a college coach there. That those rumors have simmered down a little bit. You haven't heard any of the big names there being connected to the Bears job opening, so he's butting heads supposedly with Ron Poles there, Warren there. So I don't know I think he's involved in something to do with the new stadium and stuff, but you never want to hear that stuff. You always want to get a guy who hires the best man for the job. Forget about connections and relationships and all that. Who's the best coach at this time to take over the job? So my thing is, it could be the Patriot job. Now, I do think the Bears is a good job. I think Caleb Williams can play. I saw some flashes out of him. I think the defense is good on the back end. I think they have an excellent skill position. I think their line is better than what other people get offensive line. Other people give them credit for, okay? I do think they just beat the Packers for the first time in quite a few years now on Sunday. There's a lot of pieces there with this Chicago Bear team. All right. So, but that being said, all that money, better owner, high draft picks, franchise quarterback, the Patriot job ain't bad. It's not bad. And it's one to keep an eye on. Doug Peterson, a lot of this stuff simmered down. Doug Peterson, is he going to get fired? Is he not going to get fired? And I thought to myself, man, I don't know with that roster, with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they were expected to go to the playoffs, and they got off to a horrible start. But I tell you what really was the dagger. What really was the dagger for him early on was discovering that they simply did not. That Jaguars team did not have their defensive coordinator right. That was just a bad pick all around. It's Ryan Nelson. This team was 32nd pass defense in the NFL. Dead last. And they just hired this coordinator. The other coordinator was bad. With Doug Peterson. So they fired him, and then he hires this guy, Ron Nelson, and they're 32nd against the pass. You're 27th in points allowed with the 4-13 record, even with Mac Jones here. Remember, Mac Jones had been a starter in this league. He was also a first-round pick, and they really did not improve much at all there with this particular team. I also noted that I mentioned the Bears just a few minutes ago. They were blown out against the Bears in London. And London that's their home away from home. They've been to London more than any team in the NFL. That should have been a home game. They should have took care of business against the Bears, and the Bears just cleaned their clock in that London game, going back a few months here. And I also noticed that people say, well, what's the problem with Trent Baalke? He's another guy, could not get along with Jim Harbaugh. Brian Leftwich did not want to work with, and Leftwich denied it, but sources and reports came out, and that floated around that he did not want to work with Trent Baalke, that general manager that was brought over from the 49ers. I think he has missed a few times on draft picks, particularly in the first overall. He didn't take Aiden Hutchinson. He took the guy from Georgia who's just okay, and Aiden Hutchinson was a world beater at one time with the Detroit Lions. He's going to be back. But NFL Network wanted to make sure and emphasize that that the new head coach, Carlos, the new head coach would report directly to the owner. He would not deal with Trent Baalke. So the owner, Sean Khan or whatever his name is, the owner said that Baalke, he was impressed with Baalke's roster. You know, he was impressed with Baalke's roster, but there is something true that the NFL Network put that out there, that the new coach would report directly to Khan and not deal with Trent Baalke. So he's got some people. He don't have good people skills. That's what it sounds like. He's probably got a good eye for talent, which I think is overrated. I would have moved off of him. And yes, and Carlos says he should stay a coordinator. Going back to Doug Peterson, going back a year ago, I've talked about it with Carlos on the air, that Doug Peterson, the special teams, they got destroyed against last year against Houston. They totally look unprepared, different phases of the game. He looks very sluggish at times. His body language isn't good, that stuff bleeds over the team. They mentioned this about Detroit. The intensity, the fearless motto of Dan Campbell bleeds over the team. If you're sluggish and nonchalant as a head coach on the sideline, that will also bleed over on the team. And you start to see that in the play. Peterson's teams look unenthused at the end there at Philadelphia. Maybe you could say he simply caught lightning in the bottle with that Super Bowl run. That is more about, and you're starting to look at it now, that is more about the players that the Eagles have bring in. It's less about Peterson. Peterson's head coaching jobs in the NFL are over with. I would not hire Doug Peterson. He's way too nonchalant. He's probably coordinator material, maybe quarterback coach or something, you know. So Peterson is just not that. You just do not want your teams to look sluggish all the time, and that's what they did, especially when you got. Now here's the flip side. Trevor Lawrence, he's on the clock, man. I know he's coming back from injury and everything, but he's got to put up or shut up. This is the third coach here with Trevor Lawrence. I'm telling you, you need somebody to work with him. He's going to have to shore up that short passing game. He's a long strider. He's still got to work, even at this many years in the league. We're talking been in the league since 2021. He's got to shore up those mechanics, and he's got to take care of himself and not get himself hurt. He's kind of a tall, lanky player here, but he's definitely got to get it together. He has not lived up to expectations. He is technically overrated at this point. I don't say he's a bust. I don't think he's a bust. We saw Sam Darnold bounce back. We saw Baker Mayfield bounce back. I still think that there's still a future there for Lawrence. But that being said, if they lose with another coach, I think the team could potentially move on from Trevor Lawrence. I do not think that's a hot take at this point in his career. Lawrence has got to take care of himself. He's got to become better as a quarterback. You know, he's got to show more leadership skills out there, and he's flat out got to take care of himself. He cannot be running in the teeth of the defense there. He's got to shore up his speed and not get himself injured out there. I've said that about Sam Darnold in the past, and he has corrected. He had a rough game the other day, but he has corrected. He's not running head first into the end zone and getting himself concussed all the time. I've said that about Mayfield, that I think he thought he was too fast. He made a heck of a throw yesterday there for a touchdown late in the second half there. It wasn't one to Mike Evans and one to this other guy, Pegum or whatever the heck his name is. Great throw there. But he's got to measure up the speed of the defense here for and be more efficient. So I think he's somewhat on the hot seat as a player there, Trevor Lawrence is, in my opinion. But this will be somewhat of an attractive job. I think Brian Flores may come down there. I'm not sure. I think it's one of the jobs that he may be interested in. Todd Monken, somebody like that. He's getting interest there. The Bears. He's going to get some interviews. Todd Monken there. Okay. All righty then. So I will again just had a text here from Richard. Just sending one back. Okay, good deal. See you tomorrow. He will be here tomorrow, and we will be talking about the Tennessee Titans. And listen, the Titans have the number 1 overall pick Sunday with the loss to Houston. I thought that that's good. That's a good thing. A lot of people don't. Listen, the draft is hope, folks. The draft is hope. All right. Look at this time last year. It seemed like there was no hope for Denver last year. All right. A few years ago, no hope was an understatement for the Cincinnati Bengals when they got the number 1 pick. They got Joe Burrow. They're not in the playoffs now, but they were in the Super Bowl 2 years later. If not for that crappy owner, by the way, who they fired, they used Lou Anarumo, one of the hottest coordinators in the league 3 years ago, used him for a scapegoat, fired him today. But the draft equals hope. If you get that quarterback right, look at the combination down there and up there in the D.C., Maryland area with Cliff Kingsbury and, of course, Jalen Daniels here. They look like a train wreck, and now they're back in the playoffs here and got a shot to go down there and knock out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and get the win there. So, listen. So, Tennessee, to get the first overall pick here with a little help from the Pats knocking out the Bills. Brian Callahan spoke today with speculation he may be done after one season. I think he's going to be okay. There's also been other speculation that general manager Ran Carthon may get fired. Now, I've heard some of the criticisms. There's a local radio guy here that's been on, this young guy. He's really trying to be somewhat of a contrarian and pound Carthon in the ground, saying he don't know what he's doing and whatnot. But if you look at this Titans team, you look at was it J.C. Latham there at the right tackle there? I think he was a hit. I think the second round, Javondre Sweat, he's such a hit at defensive tackle, their second round pick this past year, that I think that they can move off that $20-something million cap hit that they're getting from Jeffrey Simmons after re-signing him a few years back. The defensive tackle who's playing at a Pro Bowl level like nobody's business. They can move off him and get a pretty high first-round pick for Simmons and build around Javondre Sweat, who's on a rookie deal, in my opinion. You know, they got them kind of options there. So Carthon, listen, and I'll ask Rich about this tomorrow. He says that Will Levis was part of the other general managers, the other GMs pick there. Did he really who was it? Vrabel pushed for him. I forgot the other guy's name now, but it makes never mind. So Carthon this past year was his true draft year. Listen, the Tennessee Titans were second. I just checked this today. They're second in yards allowed on defense in the NFL. So that tells you how bad the quarterback position was. And I said before, I've said it weeks ago, they need to get a new special teams coach. Brian Callahan, now I'm going to give him a few days, maybe even a week, but he's got to make some changes on that staff. Mentioned Dan Campbell. They were getting thrown on like nobody's business a year and a half ago. Campbell fired that secondary coach. I thought he was going to move off Glenn, but they started gradually getting better there in Detroit. So I do think special teams coach, there are linebacker coach, too many missed tackles there. Got to move off the linebacker. I wouldn't move off the whole defensive coordinator, but the defensive coordinator, because of that second in yards allowed, that's a big deal. But they're like 30th in points allowed. You know, a lot of that is Will Levis, the quarterback position. Check these numbers out, folks. 13 touchdowns to 12 interceptions for Will Levis, 10 fumbles. Here's the big kicker about Will Levis. That's in 12 games, folks. Yes, you heard that. That's in 12 games start. Remember, he had 5 started for Mason Rudolph, and Rudolph wasn't that much better. But Will Levis, first year as a starter, 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 12 fumbles. That's 22. That's 22 turnovers in 12 games. 22, that's 2 a game. You're cutting your chances in half statistically with that. You know, all these people say, this team's bad, they're a disaster, they're this and that. You get the quarterback right, and all that washes away. All that goes away. Buffalo Bills were the worst defense in the league before Josh Allen stepped out there. Like week to week, they were the worst, just a god-awful defense before Allen came in there. I want to say that they had a player retire at halftime. He was so bad. He was getting smoked so bad. You know, Allen comes in, the defense plays better. The whole thing turns around for the Bills, you know. So, whether it be Schroeder Sanders, now if Dion wants to argue with the Titans organization, say I don't want Schroeder playing there, and I say, okay, you want to be Eli, you want to be John Elway, we're not going to fight you on it and draft you anyways. We're not going to do that. You know, you look at Cam Ward, you know, Schroeder Sanders though. And a lot of people's not too high on Schroeder. I've listened. But you know Schroeder Sanders has a 71.8 career completion percentage. That's the best in the history of college football FBS players in the FBS history. Collegefootballreference.com is where I got that. Yeah, Schroeder Sanders has a 71.8% completion percentage, best in the NFL college FBS. He's got 4 years, folks, 4 years as a starter, between 2 in Jackson State, 2 at Colorado. Now, I think Dion's kind of bark is stronger than his bite. Tennessee he mentioned he didn't want him playing in cold weather, kind of jokingly. He'll be playing in Nashville for, this is 25, 26, 27. They're supposed to have the dome here. That would be a moot point. Nashville's the Mid-South. I think that would, I think it would work out for Schroeder to come here. Now, I'm saying all options are on the table for Tennessee. I'm not saying leave something out. I'm saying everything is on the table for the Titans. Other words, whether it be Schroeder Sanders at 1 pick, whether it be Cam Ward, who is Cam Ward's got less interceptions there. He's got the 3+ years experience going through 2 teams as well. I do think that Ward would be a guy worth looking at. I think he is a first-round talent, all right? He is very cool in the pocket. He runs to throw like Sanders. He does not run to run. And both of these guys are time and a half better prospect than a Will Levis, a guy who just does not pick up on the speed of the game, you know. But, I mean, then you got to look at the possibility if they're not in love with the quarterbacks, if they're not in love with these quarterbacks, and they do not have a first-round grade. You know the Giants, by the way, the Giants are going to keep both their general manager and head coach. I was surprised by Sheehan. I was really surprised by him, the general manager being kept there. But going back, and hopefully this will be a blessing in disguise for us football fans, that Hard Knocks front office like they have with the Giants. I love that, by the way. I love that. Hopefully they're working on one right now with the North. Maybe the Titans, right? Since the Titans had the number 1 pick. I think that would be great. But the Giants are going to keep Sheehan, and they're going to keep Brian DeBall at least one more year. We know that the Giants and the Raiders at 6, the Giants at 3 want a quarterback. We know that. So if you're the Titans and you say, well, maybe they'll get a work out something, get a bridge quarterback, veteran, something like that. You know, try to get a bridge quarterback and maybe shoot for one next year, one in the second round, shoot for one in next year's draft. Maybe it'll be a better draft for quarterbacks and whatnot. That's if you're looking ahead, see what your scouts think. The Giants would have to pay a pretty penny, and the Raiders would have to play a real pretty penny to come up from 6 to 1. I mean, we're talking their first-round pick, probably their second-round pick, probably a first round in 26 to 27, perhaps, and maybe Brock Bowers. So something like that to come from 6 to 1, that's a big deal. That is a big deal. To come from 3 to 1, yeah, they're going to have to come up multiple picks there at the Giants if Tennessee wants to do that per se. But I would err on side of look at these quarterback options first. Look at these quarterback options first. See what you think there. You know, this is an exciting time. They got the number 1 pick. They're not as bad as people think. If you really dig in it, they're second in yards allowed. You know, they still have a very good secondary. They've got to make some adjustments on that coaching staff, but I wouldn't clean slate with the coaching staff, and I'm not sure I'd clean slate with Carthon. Now, that could change in the next few days if they do move off Carthon. If you do that, you want to look at, you know, maybe a Green Bay, a Ravens, somebody like that. Maybe look at other assistant there up at Kansas City. What they're doing general manager-wise, you want to look at the best organizations if that's the route you want to go. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on Rand Carthon. I do like some of his picks. I think he's been okay. I mean, everybody misses on quarterback once, and we're going to find a lot of this stuff out from Richard coming up tomorrow on tomorrow's program. He will, Rich Ferris from 104.5, the Titans flagship. Got ears. He listens to a lot of these shows. These guys are connected sources with the team. Going to have that on tomorrow. And, of course, Jenny Paul, radio personality, will be on Wednesday talking to her about the Yankees and whatnot. Maybe get some current questions about this year's team coming up in about a month to have pitchers and catchers reporting. So Got a great show with you. Of course, we have Carlos coming on Friday, and again Thursday, folks. I will get it. And listen, there's constant news breaking. Antonio Pierce. I was okay with what the Raiders done. I think he has not lost his team. He does not have his quarterback yet. They have hit on Brock Bowers, and they retain him. Those players are buying in. They just don't have the roster to win right now. So far, so good. I agree with everything that's been done. Other than I would have moved off Bulky with Jacksonville, but that's just me. We'll play it all by ear. We'll have to play it all by ear because these are ongoing situations when it comes to coaches and whatnot and general managers and assistants and stuff that's being fired. So, folks, if you like the show, share the show. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope. Good night, everybody.